Hello, everybody. Welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join us for Championship Preview Round 28. It's a good thing we record at 1 p.m, isn't it? Because the 12:30 pitch inspections have just taken out 2 games in Yorkshire. We'll talk about those as we go on through. We are here as ever to look at Championship weekend games. We will go through one by one and make our predictions on the 10 games now instead of the 12. With 2 of them, I wonder if we'll lose any more, particularly in that northern area of the country with the freezing temperatures and not everybody having under soil heating. Anyway, I need your help as ever in this show. Get me your predictions in the comments as we go. Sometimes I'll predict before you. Sometimes I'll just go with the flow and go with the crowd when I'm not entirely sure. Right, let me know that you can see me, hear me loudly, clearly. Say hello in the chat. Try and work with me through the format. So comment on the games that we're talking about at the time that we're talking about them. Let me just do the plugs real quick and then we'll get on into the action. Firstly, big thank you to our fan sponsors, the Donovan brothers, in loving memory of Michael Donovan of South East London, lifelong Millwall fan, admirer of this show. Thank you to the Donovans. You can contribute in real time during the show. Super chat any point in the broadcast. First super chat in the stream becomes the king of the bin and owns the fake news Sin Bin sponsorship. Subscribe via Patreon as well. We'll be doing the quick predictions over on Patreon exclusive. We did the exclusive Q&A yesterday. Going to be getting your shout outs for some contributions to the Saturday Super Stream as well. And then on Monday, we're going to be recording our first I Have Just Witnessed Classics show as well. I had some great input on the games that we chose for that one. Basically, lots of good stuff now building up on Patreon. So go and get involved over there. And of course, if you're on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook right now, whatever it looks like, whatever it says, like, follow, subscribe, press that button, especially on YouTube, hit subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Let's say hello to everybody. Carl, Mr. E, Jamie, Owen, Anir, Alistair, George, Chris. It's round 29. Have I got the wrong title up? I must have recycled that one. Let me change that really, really quickly. Round 20. And have I put that on the actual name of the show as well? No. See, I've got the name of the show right. Just got the banner wrong, evidently. Hang on, let me change that. 1 second. Championship preview round. That was nearly 92 as well. Boom. There we go. We were just saying hi to everybody in here. Hello to Sean. Don't tell work I'm here. Tremendous. S. Housery there from Sean. Ben, afternoon. Owen, legend. Stop playing football in the north. Problem solved. And a $10 super chat. You are the king of the bin, Owen, legend. We will drink to you. The last Sprite Zero. Hey to Sean and hey to Speng. Right. Let's get into this now. As the games fall by the wayside, only 2 of them so far. So there are our scheduled 12 games. Blackburn versus Preston, which is tonight. And we'll be doing that on the watch along. Providing it's northwest enough of Yorkshire to survive. It's going to be cold, I can tell you that. I assume they've got undersoil heating bins. They've been in the Premier League, certainly more regular than or recently than Sheffield Wednesday or Rotherham, who've never been in the Premier League. Forest Bournemouth tomorrow lunchtime. Then Birmingham Luton, Cardiff Coventry, Derby Borough, Huddersfield Wycombe, Norwich Stoke, Reading Millwall, Rotherham QPR has gone. Sheffield Wednesday, Swansea has gone. Watford, Bristol City, and then on Sunday, Brentford, Barnsley. Obviously, Barnsley played in the Cup last night. Actually, quite good news there. If you look where the games are being held in terms of the cold and the pitches, Blackburn, Nottingham Forest, Birmingham, Cardiff, Derby, Huddersfield, Norwich, Reading, Watford and Brentford, other than Brentford, have all been in the Premier League. So probably got under soil heating and spent that cash. And Brentford have obviously just moved to a new stadium, which no doubt has a relatively young pitch and under soil heating. So probably good news for the rest of the games. Unfortunately, the two non-Premier League type teams in recent... Well, when was the last time Sheffield Wednesday were in the Premier League? Ages, hasn't it? Rotherham have never been there, despite having a reasonably new ground. They both also happen to be in Yorkshire, where I think the weather has been at its worst. Let's get into the games. So first up is Brentford versus Barnsley. Brentford going top of the league in midweek. Get your predictions in on Brentford versus Barnsley. We did Brentford in the watch along on Wednesday night, wasn't it? And I'm to the point now with Brentford where I say use whatever stat you like. Basically, they've been brilliant since about round 12 now. It's 21 undefeated for the Bees. Tony's got 23 goals already. I think it's like 8 wins in 9 or something. Again, it's not hard to, look at Brentford and pull out a stat that's fairly basic that shows that they're in ravishingly good form. They play against Barnsley, who are not in ravishingly good form. Barnsley had moved up into sort of the top 10, hadn't they, with a really long run under Valérien Ismaël. We did look ahead at this bunch of fixtures and say, oh, okay, maybe a small regression to the mean. They've actually dropped down to 13th now, especially given Cardiff's good form. They're moving above them. Mitigating factor for Barnsley is the fixtures in terms of Watford, Norwich and Swansea in a row for those 3 defeats. 2 draws since, where they probably could have got more. But there is an idea that Barnsley will probably rise again. But obviously, they are now away at the best team in the division. So says the table and so says the form. Brentford, second best home record in terms of points accumulated in the league. If you look actually that entire top 10 now, it's fairly even, has all played 14 at home. Watford still way out in front there with the 10 wins there, although Reading have got 9 actually there. In terms of the away form, and Barnsley, they're not great away from home. Barnsley, 4 wins in 14, 18th most points accumulated there. Let's look at recent games, even though we've kind of made mention of them, particularly in Barnsley's case. I mean, in Brentford's case, they're just winning all of them, aren't they? Only that draw at Swansea, and really they should have won that game as well. And then it's wins against Luton, Wickham, Bristol City, Borough and Reading. So maybe some easier games in there at the start of that run. However, going away to Reading is now not an easy game. Neither is Borough away, although they have had a bit of a slip at home, haven't they? Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat on this one. Where are your comments starting? Annie, I'll speak to you after the show on that one, buddy. Thank you. Brentford playing Sunday, by which time temp due to have risen. There we go. And I'm sure they've got all mod cons there. 1-0 Barnsley, says Carl. Sonny's going for a draw. 4-1 Barnsley. Tony on 23 goals, most assists in the league too. Can I just call out Ivan Toney, who I think is an amazing player, but he tweeted after the game, 2 assists, a goal and 3 points or whatever. Have you seen the assist for Josh Da Silva? He basically takes a quick free kick 2 yards to his right and Da Silva dribbles it around 2 players and curls it in the corner. Yes, it is an assist by the book, but not all assists are equal, are they? But hey, Tony is racking up the number. I always remember Jonas Knudsen for Ipswich getting an assist. He literally knocked it a yard to Bersant Salina, who dribbled around 3 players and smashed it in against QPR from 25 yards. There you go. The Bees to carry on winning, says George. Tough run seems to carry on for us. I think Brentford will be too good, says James, Barnsley fan. there. Anir says, home. Barnsley's form against top six is not good, is it? 3-1. Brentford. Lockie S and Chris just adding that Barnsley did not manage to rest players, although they do still have a 3-day gap-ish, don't they? And they didn't travel, but ho-hum. Brentford still with an extra day there. 2-1 Brentford, no one in 5. We know the levels of these teams. Barnsley are pretty much as good as Chelsea, and Brentford slightly better than Reading. So there you go. Draw, Barnsley not to be overlooked. 2-0 Bees. With Tony's stats, wouldn't surprise me if he went to a big club, even if Brentford got promoted. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me either, actually, Chris. Banker home win. Daniel says, Barnsley did a job there last season. They did. Slightly different circumstances now, but you are, of course, right. What else? We've got 3-1 Brentford, 2-1. 4-1 Brentford, not Barnsley. There we go. Home. What am I going to say? Here comes, in predictable fashion, home. Let's go for a home win for the Bees, which would bring the undefeated streak to 22 games. And I think it'd be like 9 wins in 10 or 10 wins in 11. Again, use whatever number or statistic metric you want to use. It's fairly blindingly obvious that Brentford are very good at the moment. We'll see how they go. They have gone behind in their last 3 games and still won. So there is something there, but no one's beaten them for a good few months now, have they? Let's move on. In fact, I beautifully written out the running order. There you go. Down there, have a look. Norwich versus Stoke. Get me your thoughts in on Norwich versus Stoke. It's all swung around a little bit for Norwich, although when we looked ahead at the fixtures, we had identified this week in particular, without even knowing that Buendia was going to be out, where you're playing Middlesbrough, and then it was the defeat against Swansea and Millwall in between, and then Stoke. This one had looked like the kind of hard week for Norwich, and obviously they've done it without Emi Buendia as well, and we know what happens to Norwich in the Championship when Emi Buendia doesn't play for them, or they don't win. I expected Stoke to give Norwich a better game in the reverse of this one, but Norwich, I remember it was 3-2. Buendia actually got sent off in that one as well, didn't he? And Norwich raced into a 3-0 lead in that one, and they found it quite easy against Stoke. I know, and correct me on this one, I think that might have been at the time when Bursic just came into goal and just literally couldn't save anything at that point, bless him. And Stoke were having injury troubles. I think Norwich were as well. But yeah, so a little drop off for Norwich, 2 points in the last 3, obviously the last 2 games without Mr. Buendia, and Brentford at the same time have essentially, over the past 3 games have taken 7 points out of the Canaries, and Swansea have taken 5 out of them as well. So it's all changed around a little bit with Brentford now top. Do we get a 3-horse race? I don't know. But if our Michael Jordan theory on Emi Buendia is correct, if he comes back, we expect the results to then turn straight back up again. Stoke, very poor of late. I think 1 win in 14 in all competitions. They're just not winning. 12 draws and draw all the way. 4 draws in the last 5, as you can see there. Let me bring up the homes and aways. Norwich, 4th best team in the league at home, and tied up there, could easily be the 2nd. They're only 1 point away from that. Stoke, however, are the 7th best team away from home and have only lost 2 games. Look at all those draws, though. You can see what Stoke's game plan is going to be. I wonder whether people will now look at Neil Warnock's tactics against Norwich and say, look, man marked Buendia. I mean, he marked Buendia and Cantwell. One got red carded, one got sent off. It worked. So I wonder whether people now, given it's kind of national news and we've got even more of a sample, whether people will mark the Argentinian in particular there. Norwich trouble scoring goals as well recently. If you look, no goals in the last 3 games. Got 2 against Bristol City when Jordan Hugill got both of those goals. Let's have a look what you think in the comments. Home, Buendia is back. Strange that we aren't previewing the Norwich game first. It's been a while, hasn't it, hey? Norwich to turn their poor form around, 2-0 win, 1-0 Stoke, 1-1. Draw, Norwich just need to keep some sort of momentum. Stoke are draw specialists. Norwich 2-0. Norwich held to 5 draws at home. Stoke drawn away, draw. 2-1 Norwich. Stoke love a draw. Norwich back to winning ways if Buendia's back. 1-0 Norwich, 0-0. 2-0 Norwich by the odd goal. 0-0 unless it's a BBFC watch. It's not. We'll be doing the second half of Bournemouth Forest, which we'll talk about in a second. O'Neill under pressure. Maybe. What am I going for? Well, if I've been banging on the Buendia theory the whole time, then as much as it makes a lot of sense, you guys saying draw, home, I'm going for a Norwich back to winning ways. And with what we're about to say with Swansea, games in hand are all well and good, but you could start to see it becoming 2 rather than 3 with Swansea's cancellation, which we will talk about right now because Swansea were due to be going to Sheffield Wednesday. That game has been postponed. I suppose I'm glad they've done it ahead of time with 24 hours notice. Obviously, there's no fans to take into consideration, but I had this on Tuesday where I was due to be going to Rotherham, and in the end, I just held my hands up and said, no, I'm not going because I don't want to travel in the snow late at night from Yorkshire. So at least there's some notice. Let's have a look at the table as it pertains to both sides in good form, actually. They'll both be disappointed probably to be missing the game. But as you can see now, the worst case scenario for Swansea is that, as I've predicted, both Brentford and Norwich will win. And therefore, the gap, no one can overtake Swansea this weekend, but the gap then would be 5 points to Norwich and it would be 7 points to Brentford. And of all the seasons, you want the points on the board given possible COVID chaos and fixture squish up already. I know it's got evened itself now at this point in the season, but it's still a hefty schedule. So bad news for Swansea on Wednesday that they're not playing in this one. So obviously can't make a prediction there. Both sides in really good form. And of course, if you're Sheffield Wednesday, thanks SofaScore for reloading as you always tend to do. If you're Sheffield Wednesday, any one of Derby and Birmingham score a point and back into that bottom 3 you go. So if there's any comments on that one. Save Swansea travelling. They would have travelled up today, I'd imagine. Paul, you legend. Have an expensive pint or a cheap bottle of wine on me. Do you know, I've got back to beer recently, so I'll have a pint. Not that I can go anywhere and drink it, but thank you, Paul. Very kind. And Paul, now we did this last time. Plug your sponsorship business in the comments down there, and if I see it, I promise I'll read it out. I don't see all the comments, I must say. Right, let's move on because we cannot predict a game that's not going to happen, but we can make a prediction for Watford versus Bristol City. Get your ideas in on that one. Watford versus Bristol City. Obviously, I will lead off by saying that Watford are the best home team in the division in terms of points accumulated. We'll look at that in just a second. But I don't know about you. I'm not whelmed. Is whelmed a word? I'm underwhelmed at the moment. There's not really been a spark into action, really. It's just kind of been a straight line, hasn't it, from Ivic through to Xisco. They're still not scoring goals. The last 2 games, 3 games indeed, 2 points. And it didn't look all that different, did it? I know Ivic had kind of drilled them to be very defensive or certainly pragmatic, but I don't know. Has that much really changed at Watford? And Bristol City, if you now throw in the FA Cup defeat as well, bit of a losing streak for Dean Holden, isn't it? And you would wonder, particularly with Cardiff chasing, Preston possibly could go higher than that. Barnsley, we expect a regression to the mean. Millwall will also expect a top half challenge. You do wonder whether that could, in the end, suck Bristol City a couple of places down, don't you? Let's have a look at the homes and aways quickly. As we know with Watford, best home team in the league, but QPR went there, were brave and won. So we did that on the watch along. Well-deserved win for QPR in that one. Look at Bristol City's away form. That's hopeless. 5 defeats on the bounce. I don't know if there's more in the bargain before those last 5 games, but that doesn't look good at all, does it, for the Robins? I know the City fans were pleased to see Jamie Patterson back. Someone tell me in the chat, Mawson was red-carded, wasn't he? He'll be suspended for this one? I assume that doesn't just take in the FA Cup, does it? This looks like the sort of game that Watford will win, doesn't it? A slightly weaker opponent with bad away form. Troy Deeney will probably smashing a penalty or something. Who are Bristol City beating? Well, they're beating Huddersfield, who are not in good form, and Preston, who are massively erratic, aren't they? Who are Watford losing to? Swansea, QPR drop points against Millwall and Coventry, though, is a little more alarming. However, both of those games were away from home. The thing that the Bristol City fans will look at is the QPR performance. But QPR did get up the pitch. They made very brave substitutions. And can you see Bristol City being as brave, I wonder? What are you guys saying in the chat? I'm not whelmed. There may be some poor English there. What else? Right, where are we? Home win, but very close, says Sean. Lee of a Bristol City persuasion. Fear the worst. If not for the good start, we'd be around the bottom 3. Poor all season. Yes, we've had injuries. Who hasn't? Like Holden the man, not Holden the manager. Interesting. Right, Paul, there we go. I've read it out. Cycling challenge postponed until 2022. Oh dear. We can still sponsor you though, can we? Stick it up in the chat so everyone can take a look at that. 2-0 Watford, says Will. 0-0. Brian is here, hiding in his office there. And that's a Luton fan predicting a Watford win as well. Welcome, Brian. Close personal friend, as Mean Gene Oakland would say. My long-time close personal friend. 1-1. Narrow defeat. Then we go 2-0 Watford. Bristol City can't score. Dull 1-0. These 2 games postponed games will have to be played in between Saturdays 10th and 17th. Oh, good research, Chris. Along with Bournemouth's game on 20th of March. Hey, we might get a super stream out of that, Chris. And here we are pathetic away from home. Can't defend set pieces. They brought in a young left wing back, didn't they, to solve their problems? Their 9 losses in 12. Ouch! I was going to look that up. There you go. What was the name of the left back? Was it Tola, the Bristol City guy? What else have we got? If Deeney and Gray start and we play 4-4-2, it'll be 1-0 Bristol City or 0-0. If they don't, then 2-0 Watford. Ben, couldn't they go 4-2-3-1 and play sort of Sarr? So Deeney up on his own, obviously. I mean, what about Peritza as well, the Croat? Boring 1-0 to the Hornets, 4-0 home. Mawson suspended. Thank you, guys. That's not good news as well. Pathetic. I'm from Suffolk, so I sometimes say it with an F. Pathetic. There we go. Watford 2-1. Riley Towler. Maybe to just go with him if there's nothing better happening. Guys, I'm going to bore you senseless because I'm going to go for a third home. All of the numbers and all of the logic says home win, doesn't it? But hey, it's the Championship. Did anyone notice I got most of my predictions right in the midweek for the first time, although I had Reading and Brentford to draw. Got the other 2 right, which is rare for me. Speaking of Reading, let's do Reading versus Millwall, please, guys. Get your predictions in for Reading versus Millwall. Slight blip for Reading in midweek, but really, when you look at Reading's actual, when we do the who are they losing to, there's not really much to suggest that they're not a playoff team, which is where we've been trying to get with Reading. It's like, what are they? Like 14th last season, and then they're streaking away top, and then they lose 4 on the trot. But they do look like a playoff team now, don't they? Reading, there's the table. So it's Reading, Millwall, 5th place, Reading. Millwall in 14th, but in good form, 9 points in 5 for the Lions. And I'll put this out there straight away as the predictions come in. 2 managers that set their teams up to know how to defend, basically. So I think we know where I'm going with this one. Rowett versus Paunovic. Obviously, Reading... in fact, Reading are probably an example of what Millwall actually want to do in terms of at the top end. Reading have been ruthless, haven't they? And with Lucas Shaw and Elise and Swift, although Swift was out, wasn't he? Maite, etc., Jaria up top. More quality up the top there. Reading's home form is good. Top 6 in home form for the league. 2 defeats in the last 5. They have, however, come against Norwich and Brentford. That was what I was meaning about the, who's actually beaten them. Well, Reading lose to the best teams in the league and tend to do well against everyone else, which sounds a hell of a lot like a playoff team to me, doesn't it? Millwall's away form's good, though, isn't it? 8th best in the division. Couple that with some decent home form, and you can see what's stopping the Lions climbing up the table. That is 8 points in the last 5. That's decent, with victories over Bristol City and over Huddersfield. So at the moment with these 2 teams, I'm seeing a Reading side that is capable of, going toe-to-toe with everyone, really, apart from, those teams that we think are going to be challenging for the title, parachute teams, and add sort of Brentford and Swansea into that as well. With a Millwall team, we see them improving, but possibly not too much chance, I don't think, of winning this game. So I'm going to dive straight in there ahead of the predictions and upset you all and say draw. I think both sides are good defensively, and I think it's going to be tight. And I suppose it just depends. If the Reading attack is firing, you'd imagine there's far many more goals in the Reading team than in the Millwall team. But, it's Rowett, and he's made a career out of, certainly in the Championship, of being pragmatic. What are we saying here in the chat? Actually, we'll just read Ben's one out there. Yeah, Zinkernagel as well, a winger that could come in and start. Away win, Millwall on fire. Home, Suzanne. Reading win, 2-1 Reading. 1-1 James, he's with me. Owen, away win, interesting. Leonard is going to be a miss, 2-1 Millwall, interesting. 2-0 Reading could be a stalemate, though. We always struggle against Millwall. 3-2 to Reading with Bodvarsson to score. The John Daddy Bodvarsson derby, 2-0 Reading. Ice Wallow Come. Love the channel. Thank you. Will have to be a defensive battle, 0-0. Could be a draw. Brentford tough game, might have taken a lot. Yes. It was a revealing game, wasn't it? Third attempt at predicting Red's first home draw. Yeah, I was the same as well. 1-1 Millwall love a draw. Leonard out for 2 months. That's not good news. After Reading's start, they only had to be average to get playoffs. Agree with that. Can't see the current mid-table having the form to catch them. Good comment, that, Lewis. So I like the cut of your jib there. Use the numbers. Swift, Maite, and Moore out. Thank you, Max. It's been a while for Moore, hasn't it? Swift, he'd made a difference, hadn't he, since they came in. 2-1 Reading. McIntyre's been really good. He has, actually, hasn't he? 1-0. Draw last time they met. Draw like the last time. Reading spawns home. There we go. Did I fall for an Ice Wallow? Yeah. Oh, Ice Wallow Come. Well, let's put him in the fake news sin bin. There we go. In he goes. I think I fell for it. Baited. It's rare for me. Who was the king of the bin? It was Owen, wasn't it? I'll say it slowly. So Ice, Wallow, and then the last word is in the fake news sin bin. He got me. I'll hold my hands up to that one. What a sad hobby, though. Deary me. Right, Forest versus Bournemouth is the early kickoff. So we'll catch the second half of this on the Saturday Super Stream tomorrow. Get your predictions in. Will Bournemouth have a new manager at least named? I doubt they will be in charge for this one. Who knows? Interviews apparently have happened. So they're deliberating. What did Lloyd Grossman used to say on MasterChef? Deliberating, digesting and cogitating. Forest versus Bournemouth. Forest in good form, aren't they? Bournemouth essentially not, and kind of in between managers. And this game is at the City Ground, so this might play into Forest's favour. And on paper, we normally sort of go with Bournemouth, don't we, because of their quality in their squad. But Forest, they're way under the actual quality of their squad in terms of league position. They've got good players, haven't they? For sure have Forest. Let's look at the homes and aways. So Forest, our home team, 8 points in 5, 16th best home team in the league. Bournemouth away, only the 10th best team. Not much in it in terms of those. 13 points in it in terms of the table. But hey, didn't Forest score like 1 point from their first 6 games? You can probably chalk down the entire 13 points to about the first 6 or 7 games, can't you? Let's have a look. Who are they beating? There we go. So that's the end of the losing streak from Bournemouth. 4 defeats on the trot there before the firing of Jason Tyndall. Look at Forest's form there. 7 points in 3, followed by 7 points in 4. Very, very decent. Although don't tend to do well against the higher teams, sort of top 4, top 6 teams. I know it's kind of how a league table works, go figure. But Bournemouth and Swansea coming up. I don't know. Let's see what you guys are saying. I have a bit of a hankering for Forest in here. What have we got here? There we go. Right, draw. Forest doing well. Never back the early kickoff in both teams to score a draw. Yeah, always seems to be a bit flat sometimes. Although remember that Reading Bournemouth one that was 4-2. There we go. Draw, says Sean. Bournemouth never won at the City Ground, and they ain't great defensively. 2-1 Forest. Forest win, says Liam. 1-1 says Will. Forest win, says Paul. 2-1 Forest. Forest looking up at the moment. Maybe we have done bad against top teams. Sneak one for Forest. 3-3, draw. 1-0 Forest, draw. 1-0 Forest. Forest only 13 off the playoffs. Calm down, Hamza. It's a long way back, isn't it? Only 18 games to go, I think, for some. 2-1 Bournemouth, 2-1 Bournemouth. 2-1 Bournemouth, 2-0 Bournemouth. Forest win, but not what I want. Well, there we go. You've kind of made me a bit bullshit about this, so I'm going to go for it. Chris Hughton to beat Jonathan Woodgate. Home win for Forest. We'll find out on the Super Stream. I'm trying to recreate that Alan Partridge gif. There it is. Not quite as good as Steve Coogan, but what are you going to do? Right, moving on. Derby County versus Middlesbrough. Derby are going to be hard to predict here for a couple of reasons. Look at me getting my excuses in nice and early. Firstly, is it feels like they've had a couple of postponements recently. Secondly, Bielik is now not in the side, so it's hard to use some of the form when he was in the team as a predictor. Thirdly, they've got a load of new players, essentially, haven't they? Mengi, Baningimi, who's the guy who used to play for Millwall up front? Gregory as well, Pat Roberts, the winger. So it might be a different looking Derby County team going forward now for the rest of the season, really, mightn't it? However, prior to that defeat in their most recent game, Rotherham, they'd won 3 on the trot. And generally, since sort of McLaren came back and Rooney and Rossignol had McLaren as well, the form's been decent enough. But we've all talked about the rising tide. Borough, they've slipped, haven't they? And they've let a gap open up in between them and the playoffs. Let's be honest, if they'd had even reasonable home form, even one win and one draw in those home games they've lost, they'd be 1 point off the playoffs. So Bournemouth and Borough have slipped at the same time, which has made me think the playoffs are a bit of a lock for certainly those teams on 48 points and upwards. Let's do the homes and aways. Get your predictions in. Our home team is Derby. They are very bad in terms of home form. However, it's good in the last 5 games. It's picked up. All the home wins, in fact, have come in the last 5 games. So 9 points in 5. So in terms of the whole season, they've been very bad. In terms of the last 5, pretty good. We haven't had one of those for a while. Borough's away form is good as well. Look at that, 10 points in 5. However, I think, have they had a couple of easier opponents there? Forest, Wickham, and Birmingham. So what we learned from those recent home wins is Borough are pretty adept at beating the teams down toward the bottom of the table. I'm going to plead the fifth on this one and steal your ideas. Let's have a look. What are you guys saying? I'll steal your ideas and then sit on the fence, won't I? And kind of hodgepodge between both of them. Right. Alistair, 2-0 Borough. Derby for a cheeky 1-0, says James. 3-1 away, 3-0 away, 1-0 away. 2-1 Derby. Howson hat-trick. Oh, I'll take your bet on that one. That ain't happening, is it? 0-2 Borough. Draw knock. That's excellent in terms of my dad joke sort of hankering there. I'd love a Derby win. My head says that too. Home win. Borough 4-0. Okay. Borough win, 1-1. Draw, 2-1 Derby, 3-1 Borough. I forgot about, the Borough edition. I should mention them, shouldn't I, Will? Good point. Cabano, Mendes Lang, and Balassi all in there. Warnock loves some attacking options, doesn't he? Warnock would have 8 strikers if he could get his owner to pay for them, couldn't he? Borough's new players better than Derby's, and Welsh home form gone to pot. Borough's away form improved lately. Away. I can't read that, George, because of the language, but I'll say 1-0. S-Housery is something I endorse, but YouTube tell me off for putting comments. Oh, God, what? I'm struggling with this one. And Beans, I haven't had this is the only reason I'm doing this. I'm kind of with a draw, but I'm looking down. I've gone home, draw, home. So, for no other reason, I don't want to upset MJ and the Derby fans. So look away now. Away. Let's go for a Warnock away as Rooney beds his new team in without Bielik. Right, predictions in for Blackburn versus Preston, which is our watch-along tonight. You can join me at 7:30 for the watch-along tonight. Looking forward to a, what would you call it, a north-west. Are they both in Lancashire, Preston and Blackburn? Help me with my UK geography. There, we call it a Lancashire derby or just a north-west derby. Blackburn versus Preston. Predictions in. Blackburn had moved into 8th, and had they have won last week, where were they? At QPR, weren't they? They would be only 3 points off the playoffs, but Blackburn seemed destined to get close and not quite make it. We love to talk about Harvey Elliott because he's a brilliant player. That tribunal has now ruled a £4 million fee paid by Liverpool to Fulham already, and a 20% sell-on clause, which if Harvey Elliott is as good as we think he is, well, maybe Liverpool will never sell him and he'll play for Liverpool his whole career. But certainly could be worthwhile for Fulham there, and that's finally been dealt with. Anyway, Preston, like Derby, I guess, are working on building their new team. Not quite working so well yet because 1 point in the last 3 for North End. And they're just another of these teams in the middle of the table. We said this, haven't we, recently? Bottom 8 scoring loads of points, top 5 scoring loads of points, and it's the middle segment that's not winning. It's normally like that at the end of the season, isn't it? When we start talking about teams being on the beach. But yeah, a bit of a weird sort of few weeks in that regard. Let's look at the homes and aways. Blackburn are our home team in this one, and they are middling at home. However, look at that nice little 2 points per game run there over the last 4, 8 points in the last 4 for Rovers at home. Preston's away form, much due to that incredible streak at the start of the season, where I think there was a point where they'd lost 5 at home and won 5 away, Preston. However, last 4 games, 2 wins, decent enough. I think I need to play who's beating who here. Who made who? Who made you? Who made you? Ain't nobody. It's my AC/DC impression. That hasn't been out for a couple of months, has it? I hope you all took your earphones out for that one. Who are Blackburn beating? Luton, Borough, Birmingham. Who are they losing to? Huddersfield, Stoke, QPR. Oh, this one's too hard to call. I'm going to go before you lot do. Draw in this one. Let's see your rationale for some homes and aways. What have you got? Home, says Sean. And here, home. Blackburn and Preston are neighbours. I could sing the Neighbours theme tune. The Tyrese Dolan Derby. That's excellent, Annie. Didn't know there was a watch along tonight. Best news I've had all day. Well done, James. Small mercies in COVID land, isn't it? 2-2, 2-2, 3-1, says Matt. Last time we played well was against Preston, hoping for more of the same. 3-1 Rovers. Draw. 3-1 Blackburn. Blackburn win if the pitch doesn't freeze. I assume they've got it covered and undersoil heating there. But yeah, that's even further north than Wednesday and Rotherham, isn't it? Although, hey, the cold front, I'm not going to pretend to be a meteorologist, could be down the middle, couldn't it? Right, 2-0, said Carl. Blackburn. Preston building for next year, it seems. Yeah, possibly. Harvey Elliott on Sky Under the Lights. There we go. Sitting on the fence, 5-5. Go on, Will. 2-2, 0-0. 3-3 would be nice, Owen, for the watch along. 2-1. And 10,000 holes in Blackburn, Lancashire. I read the news today, oh boy. Badoof, doof, badoof, badoof, badoof. Ringo's on fire in that song, isn't he? What a drummer. Blackburn conceded only 2 in the last 5. Preston scored only 2. 2-1. Not a bad thank you, Owen. Who made who? Have you seen it? We talked about this before. That Aussie comedian that you told me his name does the best Brian Johnson AC/DC impression. Far better than mine. And he's actually screaming rather than fake screaming. Only 10 miles apart. Alistair, get your bias at the door. I assume he's going 2-0. North End in that one. Right, Cardiff versus Coventry. And Mick McCarthy is on a roll. Of course he is. Get your predictions in. Cardiff versus Coventry as I try and find Cardiff in the home table. And let me give you a big clue as to how this one might go. I had to look quite high up in the home table there just to click on Cardiff versus Coventry. There's the league table, and you will see where Mr. McCarthy returned to us. We've missed him greatly in the Championship. 4 games ago, 8 points in 4 games for the Bluebirds. Now, we shouldn't all go down it's all due to Mick, because we expected, it's always a regression to the mean on a new manager. Some people say new manager bounce, but it's normally, the previous manager was underperforming. That's why he got sacked, go figure. And if the team's actually any good, you will get just a normal regression to the mean. I think this is it. That's not criticism of Mick's work, because he's obviously very good at this level. And they're in the 3rd year of a parachute with people like Wilson and Ojo loaned with that money. So he'll fancy his chances, Mick, won't he? But they'll need to get on a hell of a tear if they're going to get anywhere near playoffs, being 8 points back with 18 games to go. But hey, when McCarthy came in at Ipswich, they were virtually in playoff form to get out of the bottom of the table for relegation there. So he's very good at coming in, simplifying everything, and getting teams back to essentially the form that they should be in. Coventry have been, I could do another Larry David here, pretty good, but only pretty good, whilst teams around them, Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday, QPR, Forest, have been really quite good over the last week. So Coventry, this is annoying, this, because I don't want all the League One teams to get suckered down there. I can see Rotherham and Coventry above it, but you just don't want everything to shake out and, you know, we just give League One back the teams that they gave to us at the end of the season. So let me do my homes and aways, and you'll already see. I didn't have. Sorry, I got that completely wrong. Must be Cardiff's away form that puts them high in the table. I will take that back. Cardiff's home form is not good. 3 defeats and a draw in the last 4. Obviously, all of those games, other than the draw, are pre-McCarthy. They obviously played 3 and 4 away from home since he joined. Coventry's away form, yeah, there you go. I read it the wrong way round. Cardiff are the 4th best team away from home, not at home. I stand corrected, although someone's probably already corrected me in the comments. I haven't looked yet. Coventry are the 3rd worst home team in the division. That's not good. With only 2 away. Oh my God. Sort your life out, Ben. Sorry. Completely the wrong way around on both of those. The 3rd worst away team in the division with only 2 wins all season. Right, I'm going to shut up because you guys will make more sense than me in the comments. I'm talking utter nonsense, aren't I? Right, what are you guys saying? Liam, Cardiff win. Joe, Cardiff have to back Mick again. Cardiff dub. I like that, George. We'd like to see a Cov win, but head tells me Mick won't lose. Up the diff, says Alex. Mick's got us firing. The CC Derby. That's excellent, Paul. Always good to hear from Callum about Coventry. Need at least a point from this game with Norwich, Brentford and Swansea to come. Ouch. In the next 3 games. Wow. You are not wrong. We're getting a few more players on their way back. 1-1. Always, Callum's always clued up on Cov. Cardiff win, says MJ, with his Derby hat on there. Brian says 2-1 Cardiff. Chris, Cov, even though are still doing relatively well, are edging back to closer. Yes, edging back closer due to the rise in form. Totally agree. Home. 2-1 Zach. 4-0. 4-0 Cov. Oh, okay. 2-1 Cardiff. Racing Post has tipped Cov to go down. So, Chris, that logic would assume that Derby and Sheffield Wednesday are going to rise up the table. Kiefer Moore hat-trick. There we go. Mojo Ojo. Stoppable object meets immovable force. Another Gorilla Monsoon there. 4-0 Cardiff, says Will. I'm not getting into COVID or anything the New York Times has to say for itself. 2-0 there. I'm going to go with the chat. I'll say thank you to Callum for his great insight on Coventry, and now I'm going to back against them. I'm afraid. Home. And what would that make McCarthy on? 11 points in 5 games. Oh, he'd love a playoff run, wouldn't he, Mick? Although Mick doesn't do well in the playoffs, does he? Lost with Ipswich and Sunderland, didn't he? Anyone else? When he gets promoted automatically, McCarthy, doesn't he? Home win. I'm going for. Sorry, home. Just so I do it properly. Birmingham versus Luton. This is a big game, isn't this, for both teams, and a difficult one to call. We've mentioned this narrative of sort of slide in some teams, and your QPR and Rotherham and Derby and Forest and Sheffield Wednesday all winning at the same time. Luton and Birmingham haven't been winning of late, have they? Now, obviously, Luton have been much better than Birmingham in terms of their league position this season. They've been in the top half a fair amount, the Hatters, haven't they? However, only 6 points ahead, and that doesn't make for a lot of sort of safety, does it? Really, if you look at it, it's a load of positions in the league. So yes, there is a lot of traffic, but still, if you're a Luton fan, you'd be thinking, oh God, if QPR keep winning and Forest keep winning, they'll go above us. Sheffield Wednesday and Derby are, like I said, 6 points back. But Luton have gone from looking comfortable to probably a little bit worried. I suspect the tide won't continue to rise, certainly at the rate it has done. And that kind of a gap now could actually make all the difference. However, it's still worrying. It's particularly worrying if you're a Birmingham fan, because they've literally seen Derby, Wednesday, Rotherham, Forest literally go past them and overtake them. It's so tight down there. When we did the Super Stream last week, there was a couple of times where Birmingham led. Sorry, there was one time where Birmingham led, didn't they? Scott Hogan, brother, scored. And Birmingham, were sort of a few places up, weren't they? But the way it shook out with Birmingham going to defeat and other results going against them. And we have to, who is it that hates it when it's Jay, isn't it, in the chat? Hates it when I bring up the home table, because Birmingham are just dreadful at home, aren't they? Hopeless home form there. They're actually good away from home. It's like 8-4. We'll have a look in a sec. 9 points in 14, only 2 wins at home all season for Blues. Let's have a look at Luton's away form, which is 20th and 14 points. You can see Birmingham up in 9th there. So look at that, 4 defeats in 5. This has the air of a both teams could lose this game type situation, doesn't it? So we just drill in a little bit more accurately and see who's beating who made who. Got to stop that. That's so annoying, isn't it? I'm sorry. I'm even annoying myself with that. So Birmingham recently have only beaten Borough. And can we throw in the post-COVID Borough excuse or mitigating factor there? Luton have beaten Bristol City, who are not in good form, and Bournemouth with the Jeff Lerma red card that was overturned. So, oh dear. I don't like the stench on this game. Let's see what you guys are saying in this one. Luton visiting Birmingham. Right, Spock. Tiny Spock as well. Nice. 3-0 Luton. 0-0, 1-1. Birmingham don't really look up for it at the moment. 2-0 Hatters. 5 tough games in a row for Cov. Then loads of 6-pointers. Ouch. Yeah, it's going to be... Coventry done well in those games, haven't they? Anyway, back to this one. 0-0. Sam is a Blues fan. 1-0 Luton. Oops. 2-0 Luton. 1-0 Luton. 3-1 Luton. Wow. Not a lot of love for Blues here. 1-0, 1-1 draw. 2-0 Luton. Luton have to start beating teams below them. Away from awfully. 1-0 Luton. There you go. Brian's naming the goal scorer as well. Birmingham nervy 1-0. Cosgrove hasn't been used yet, has he, George? You dropped £2 million on a striker, and he's has he even played a minute? 2-1 Luton. I think Luton have enough to stay up. Will beat Blues. Birmingham awful at home. Luton only scored 6 away. Draw. 1-2. Everyone always buys into the colour of my jumper, don't they? Birmingham have been... Well done, Will. There we go. He's observing the no swearing protocol, isn't he? Go on then, Brian. Let's do it again. Away. It's only because Jay's not in here and I don't want to upset him. I'll go for Luton then. I'll go with you guys and go with Luton in this one. Right. Rotherham QPR has been postponed. Let's look at the potential scenario for those two not playing. Obviously, both sides have been really good recently. So we just flagged this up. Don't need any predictions. But potentially, well, Rotherham... Actually, no. Rotherham are going to be saved by the fact that Wednesday aren't playing, I suspect. Although, if Derby and Birmingham won, which we think is unlikely because we predicted both of them to lose, or rather I have, then you would see Rotherham back into the bottom 3. It's just, you start to worry, don't you, with the fact that Rotherham and QPR are going to be 2 games potentially behind Huddersfield, Forest, Coventry, and Birmingham, and especially down the bottom. Take the points, not the games in hand, for sure. So, we'll see when that one gets rescheduled. I think Chris had identified the week quite deep into March as well. If you can put that comment back up there, Chris. I think it was like March the 20th, he said. So it's not like the Rotherham one the other day that they could play the next day. So we'll see how it shakes out. But we've got a midweek round anyway, haven't we? So they'll be back at it soon enough. Moving on, last one, big game. This one again, especially, well, exclusively if you're a Huddersfield fan. Huddersfield versus Wycombe. And the entire narrative of this is going to be that Huddersfield have not been very good, but that they should beat Wycombe. And if they don't, they're in real shtuck, aren't they? Huddersfield, who, like Luton, have been sort of in the middle of the table, relying on home form to prop them up. And they've slid essentially at the same time as Luton have. And now, well, even worse than Luton, because they're 1 point back, having played one game more, and that home form has just disintegrated, hasn't it? So really important match for Huddersfield this. They want to win to get to 36 points. And I mean, when you start looking at the totals, you do start to think, so say Huddersfield do win, they're on 36 points with, that will be 17 games remaining. We think it might be a high tide season, don't we? So let me say 48 points. And you need 12 points from 17 games then to reach 48. So if we don't get a high tide, teams like Luton and Huddersfield, who we've just been talking about, really, 2 wins away from 40 points with sort of 12, 13, 14 games to go if they can get those 6 points. And you start to think, well, who below them is going to, put that really big run together to get to past the 46 points and more towards the 50, where some people have predicted that it might be. Anyway, let me stop hypothesizing about the whole table. So Huddersfield are big picture good at home, but they've only got 1 point from the last 3, 7th best home team in the division, in fact. Wycombe, obviously, as you know, are not good anywhere. And, wow, their away form is just abject, isn't it? No disrespect, obviously. I'm just reading statistics. 1 win, 5 points in 13. There's 5 straight defeats up there. And Wycombe are obviously marooned at the bottom of the table. So it's kind of a no-win situation, this, for Huddersfield, because if they win, good news. They're expected to win, aren't they? If they don't win, I suspect their fans are going to be saying, look, that was an easy potential 3 points with Wycombe well adrift at the bottom of the table. I'll go ahead of you guys, and this gives me no pleasure because I don't want to see anybody as whipping boys, but Huddersfield to get back to home form and Wycombe to continue to be stretching out at the bottom there. What are you guys saying in the chat? Games in hand, a bad thing during this season. Oh, God. Most seasons, I think, isn't it? Unless you really... Do you remember Manchester United getting back the points on Newcastle in 96? But 2-0 Huddersfield, Wycombe going down with a whimper. Sadly, looks that way, doesn't it? Home. Postponed games. April. Oh, wow. It's worse than I thought. Yeah, so to... Who's that comment there? OJ. Yeah, you're totally right, especially if they're going into that week. That's really late in the season, isn't it? I know even with COVID and the late start, but yeah, Huddersfield to beat Chairboys. Terry's missing key players, says Locke. Yes, he's gone for Wycombe. There you go. Another Wycombe one there. I think Huddersfield win this one. 1-0 or 7-1 to go. Huddersfield win. Might be a bit of a Huddersfield masterclass. We will see. Draw. 2-0 Huddersfield, 2-1 Terriers. Last vague chance for Wycombe, but they are a basket case home. 2-0 Huddersfield, 1-0 Huddersfield. Huddersfield just unlocked the Park the Bus achievement on Football Manager. I don't know what that is, Liam, but congratulations, my friend. Draw. 1-1 draw. Wycombe to move to just 11 points from safety. The Delroy Facey derby. I remember Delroy Facey. That's excellent, Paul. Wycombe to get relegated badly. It's looking that way. Rassa. That's a very good point, Sean. Yeah, Toffolo got red carded, didn't he? And they appealed it as well. Do you get an extra game if you appeal it and it's considered frivolous? I don't know why an appeal is automatically frivolous. You should be able to just appeal and for it to be an appeal rather than a frivolous appeal. But what you're going to do, hey? Right. Thank you, you lot. We've just gone over the hour mark. That is the prediction show. Brilliant stuff. Thank you for the super chats, Owen and Paul. Go and check out Paul, his cycling venture. What charity was it again? Paul, I've forgotten already. There's a lot goes on in these things. I can't remember, can I? It was a tough time at university for me. I think I blew out a few brain cells, let's just say. Right, thank you everybody for watching. Please hit the like button before you leave. Thank you, as ever, to our preview sponsor, the Donovan brothers, in loving memory of Michael Donovan, South East London, a lifelong Millwall fan, admirer of this show. Great to keep the honour of Michael going. Please have a think about getting involved over on Patreon. It's starting to really pick up over there now. I'd really love a situation where we had sort of half and half. Half the content was on YouTube and half of it was on Patreon. That's going to take time for me to A, build up the Patreon content, and B, gradually eke out maybe one or two shows from YouTube. But I'm really excited about this show. We're starting with my friend David Diamond, who's just an absolute savant on football. There's nothing that guy doesn't know. It's ridiculous. Puts me to absolute shame with his tidbits and knowledge. His entire brain is full of it. So that's starting on Monday as well. And we'll go and do the quick predictions now. So the best way to support what we're doing here is over on Patreon. Anyway, with all of that being said, join me tonight for Blackburn versus Preston, 7:30. Saturday Super Stream will go from 1:30 again. Will be the only stream on Saturday. Now, on Sunday, it's Valentine's Day, isn't it? So there will be no review show. I'll do that on Monday. But we will do a watch-along of Barnsley versus Brentford. And for you dearly departed fans, if anything big happens for, I think, Villa or Fulham, we'll look at that on Sunday morning. So the review show won't be until Monday. Does that all make sense? Subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. All that remains for me to do, there we go, teen suicide prevention. Well done, Paul. Great. A great cause indeed. And I will see you all tonight, although I do need to do the Departed preview before then. If you're on Patreon, quick. God, we've got loads to do. Right. I'll stop talking and crack on with my work then and say thank you very much for watching. Over and out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.